Why does promoting unhealthy lifestyles get celebrated now, while questioning the health risks of obesity is condemned? Meet Marissa Matthews, a plus-size influencer who not only embraces her own obesity, but also shames those who choose healthier paths. Her controversial stance has sparked outrage and debate, challenging societal norms and redefining body positivity. Let's delve into Marissa's provocative views, her disdain for thin individuals, and the potential dangers of her message.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my new series where here I am teaching you about things that are fat-phobic that you may not have known are fat-phobic. So this is going to be a short one. If you look at a thin person and then automatically assume based on their body size that they're healthy, that's fat phobia. And in turn, you look at a fat person and you automatically assume that they're unhealthy.
But really quickly, before we start, if you guys could please leave a comment down below saying great video. I'll like every single comment, and it really helps the algorithm, and obviously I'd appreciate it massively. Thank you. So, according to this body positivity activist, assuming a thin person is healthy just because of their size is fat phobia, and by that logic, assuming a larger person is unhealthy is also fat phobia. This means that recognizing any possible health differences based on body size is now considered discrimination. And this mindset has become increasingly common in the fat liberation community for quite some time, reaching a stage where even acknowledging the well-documented risks associated with their situation is being labeled as harmful.
Me existing does not warrant unsolicited health advice from strangers on the internet.
One of the loudest voices pushing this is Marissa Matthews, a 27-year-old plus-size content creator from Ottawa, Canada, with 131,000 followers on TikTok and 63,000 on Facebook. As you'd expect, her entire platform revolves around how the society mistreats overweight individuals. If it was simply about respecting everyone, regardless of size, that would be one thing, but much of what she says in her videos leaves out the health dangers, includes a lot of misleading medical claims, and makes it look like any discussion on the topic is now considered offensive.
When I want your critique, I'll ask.
What?
When I want your critique, I'll ask.
It was so much fun.
As her influence reaches more people, the backlash against her views on how the world should adapt to her way of thinking also intensifies, and that's exactly what we're going to take a closer look at today. Some of her past statements and hypocritical actions, both of which will prove by the end of this video that her group's campaign has drifted from its original purpose and is now focused on spreading negativity. That being said, one of the most telling aspects of Marissa's stance is her open disdain for thin people, negative views on thin bodies.
Dude, this does not serve you anymore. Why are you hanging on to it? It was a gift from my mother, and you don't just throw away a gift.
Even when there's no malicious intent in expressing similar concerns, Marissa will still call it weight stigma, acting as if the mere existence of smaller-bodied people is some kind of personal offense to her, and with all the endless whining she does online, she's convinced that every single opinion must be rooted in hatred or bias, which leads to this blanket statement that refuses to consider the simple fact that people can talk about this thing without it being some secret plot against bigger bodies. But of course, Marissa is way too deep in her own delusions to even realize that.
Woo, that'll do it. You don't have to worry about me. You do not have to worry about me.
Thin privilege.
Fat person exists, but a thin person says, after looking at the fat person, fat shaming and skinny shaming are the same. What? I'm just existing. What are you talking about? Again, thin person. Well, skinny shaming is the same as fat shaming. Oh, okay, we're gonna get into this? Oh, okay. Well, they're not the same, because one is systemic oppression, and then the other is bullying. One of them kills fat people, and then the other one is bullying. One of them systemically discriminates people against their body size, and the other one is bullying. And then the thin person goes,
Oh my god, why are you invalidating thin people? Oh my god, stop implying that skinny shaming doesn't exist or isn't bad. Like, it's still bad, but like fat shaming is just as bad. Like, skinny shaming is still bad. And that's how the narrative changes to fat people invalidating thin people, when all we're doing is defending ourselves against your initial invalidation.
She has this black and white thinking, and you can tell by how she loves to throw around the term thin privilege anytime she wants to frame something in a negative light.
Now, this is nothing against her. I actually love her videos so much, but I looked through the comment section and I just want to say this out loud for people to understand. People who think that thin privilege doesn't exist, she is making this video, this food. Personally, I've never had Chick-fil-A. I live in Canada. But the fact that she can make this, she is thinner, like she's a thin body, okay? She is making this, and there's not one comment that is health shaming her, or fat shaming her, or like saying, ew, that's a gross meal, because she's thin. Whereas if I made anything remotely like this, I would have death threats, and people would be health shaming me. So that's what thin privilege is. And no disrespect to her, I love her videos. This is just a perfect example because it has decent popularity. But this is what thin privilege is. She doesn't get health shamed, and she doesn't get like food shamed.
That video sparked debate, with some saying, well, that's just how it is. Some people can handle what they eat without any issues, while others pushed back, arguing weight and health don't always go hand in hand, and pointing out the double standard where certain influencers can post videos of themselves consuming huge amounts of food without criticism, but when Marissa does the same, she faces judgment. So why does that happen? Alright, first off, let's talk about metabolism, because it's so obvious that Marissa and others who think like her don't understand the basic science behind it, but they are clinging to their resentment and directing all their frustration toward ordinary people who are just living their lives. Metabolism is how the body processes food, and studies show that resting metabolic rates can vary by up to 25% among those of the same age, sex, and body composition. The way this works, however, is not uniform. Some burn calories quickly, while others store more fat, which is why two people can adhere to an identical meal plan, but still end up with different results due to factors like muscle mass, hormones, and activity levels. So trying to compare herself to other TikTokers who do food challenges but stay fit doesn't make sense, because they're likely active enough to maintain their figure, or they might have a faster metabolism, something Marissa may not be blessed with. And that's the truth she doesn't want to admit. She's jealous that she's not in the same position as those she's attacking in her videos.
Where? 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 Can you do that? Can you do this? Woo! Where? Where?
Saying fat shaming is more harmful than obesity now. On to another piece of misinformation Marissa has been sharing. The claim that fat shaming has a greater impact than obesity itself. At first, that might sound very reasonable because, after all, feeling rejected might drive someone to self-destructive behaviors, and weight discrimination can discourage them from seeking professional help. And that's the point. Even if they feel like everybody around them is too harsh, it doesn't alter the reality. The same goes for being morbidly obese. From what I've seen on Marissa's page, there don't seem to be any underlying health conditions causing her weight gain or making it harder for her to lose some pounds, but it stems primarily from her lifestyle choices, laziness, and fully embracing her obesity.
And shout out again to all those people who hate my guts, but is sitting in a quiet place listening to my show. You are obsessed and sick. Shout out to everybody who's made a fake page just to stare at me and spy on me. You are obsessed and sick, okay? Okay.
This is my announcement that I'm fat and I'm perfectly okay with that. And if you're not, find a new fucking hobby.
Well, why don't you just become thin then so that you can get thin privilege? Maybe because I shouldn't have to change my body for other people to treat me well? Why do you always complain about being fat? I don't complain about being fat. Not once have I ever complained about my body. Yeah, you have. Your entire profile is that. No, it's not. I like the way that I look and I have no intention or want to become thin. I have no issue with my body right now. Then why do you always talk about thin privilege and fat phobia? Because I'm treated differently based on my body. Then change your body. What do you not get? I don't need to change my body for other people for them to treat me well. I should be able to exist in my current body now and still receive basic human respect. Yeah, but you're fat. So you think because I'm fat, I deserve to be mistreated? Well, yeah, fat's a choice. Fat consequences. Woo! Really? You're just like proving my entire point. If you want to be treated well, then just get thin. So you really think that I should change my body in order for other people to treat me well instead of those other people unlearning their fat phobia and realizing that thin privilege exists? Yeah, it's not our problem. You're the one mistreating me though. Well then don't be fat if you don't want to be mistreated. Alrighty.
While being judged or bullied can seriously affect someone, that's a separate issue. And at the end of the day, carrying excess weight is still linked to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, high blood pressure, and more. Obesity death rates, and the most severe outcome is that it increases the likelihood of these conditions leading to life-threatening complications, and every single study in this field supports that. In fact, deaths tied to this have been rising, going from 1.8 per 100,000 people in 2010 to 3.1 per 100,000 in 2020. In the US alone, over 1,300 deaths per day were connected to obesity in 2016, with experts pointing out that one major contributor is how social media influencers, such as fat activists like Marissa, normalize unhealthy eating habits, always justifying them with the principle that as long as you love your body, it's okay. But Marissa's definition of self-love is practically a form of denial, and now she's telling her followers this very dangerous message under the guise of body positivity. Now let's get into another very interesting thing about how she is strongly against dieting, which I don't know if this still falls under the fat acceptance belief, but as she said before, if you're doing it, you're just trying to fix something that's perfectly fine the way it is. She's definitely the type of person who'd probably be disgusted by leafy greens on her plate, and that's not an exaggeration, as she's also very outspoken about her dislike for anything that involves restricting food intake, having even made a bunch of videos about how much diet culture sucks. She's so dedicated to this that she put together an entire playlist. So let's check out one of her videos from that and see what she has to say. Diet culture teaches us that you're supposed to be thin and as small as you can be, otherwise you'll live a horrible and miserable life. This is all untrue, and we shouldn't be brainwashed into thinking this. So even though diet culture wants us to hate ourselves, it's not true, and you're allowed to exist in your body, aka skin suit. It's okay to have big arms, thick thighs, stretch marks, or whatever other flaw diet culture likes to label. You know, this message also gets repeated by other fat activists, but Marissa is fully on board with it. But dieting, at its core, focuses on making healthier choices and providing your body with the right nutrients. So it's not just about meeting mainstream ideals of beauty. So when she says, "Don't get brainwashed," it really makes you wonder. So what's the alternative? Because all she's doing is leading people down her path, but conveniently skipping over the scary consequences that might come along. Switching gears, her insecurities not only shape her perception of others, but also complicate her dating life. There was this one time when she matched with a guy on Bumble and they made plans to hang out. But when he didn't respond right away about the time, she got really upset. After waiting for hours without hearing back, she posted their conversation on TikTok, accusing him of ghosting her.
The strong, independent woman that I am, who knows my worth, knows how I should and deserve to be treated, and how I don't take shit from anyone. He asked me to hang out. That means that he needs to initiate the day of type of thing, you know? And he didn't. It was like 2:30 and he still did not say anything about hanging out that evening. Now, with that said, that means that I'm not going to sit around. So when he asked me, "What's up?" I said, "Oh, I'm sanding some jewelry and watching TV." He's like, "Oh, cool." He's like, "How about you?" He's like, "Not much." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So then it's like 7, 8-ish, and I send him this lovely message of me setting my boundaries, not being rude at all, but letting him know that the way he was treating the whole situation I did not approve of. So I said, "I thought we were hanging out today, LOL." So he didn't answer that, so I said this: "I'm not one to wait around all day for a guy, so I'm no longer available to hang out tonight as you never clarified or confirmed anything yet." And now here's where I state my boundary. If there's a next time, I'm going to need things to be a little bit more concrete. Example, a guaranteed time, not just a general time frame, because my time is valuable and I don't appreciate it being wasted. Because essentially, he did waste my time. I'm not mad, just stating my boundaries, so if you can respect them, then cool, and if not, then oh well for you. So I sent that last night. I wake up, he read it, but didn't say anything. So I type, "Nothing?" Not even 2 minutes later, he deletes me. Aww. Poor little boy child who doesn't know how to handle an independent woman who knows her worth. And because I'm a petty motherfucker, I messaged this on Bumble. "I don't get it. You wanted to hang out with me. We chatted well and we had plans. We didn't end up hanging out because you didn't initiate the plans that we had. So I set a boundary because I know my worth, and then you blocked me? Make it make sense. Make it make sense, buddy. But seriously, make it make sense." And he has since unmatched me. Ladies, know your worth. Stand up for yourself. It's okay.
That must have really stung when he blocked her after she sent that long chat about setting boundaries. But the thing is, she could have just saved herself from all that awkwardness if she had communicated when she was available right from the start, instead of letting things drag on and getting passive aggressive. And as you probably saw at the beginning of her video, Marissa says, "Dating while being fat sucks." But honestly, I think it had more to do with how she handled the situation, expecting someone else to adjust to her without putting in any effort herself. She didn't even look at her part in the miscommunication, so she blamed the guy's lack of response on her being overweight, and made it seem like this incident was a body-related issue. But of course, we can't be totally sure that her size wasn't actually the problem here, but what I'm getting at is that she's seeing everything through a fatphobic lens. The Tim Hortons meltdown. But if you think Marissa only acts like this on TikTok, well, unfortunately, she doesn't. This whole entitled, unbearable attitude isn't just for clout, but it's her most unfiltered self, letting everyone witness it firsthand, without even reflecting on how embarrassing and bad she looks. Back in 2021, at the peak of COVID and during the lockdown, she posted this video where she was raging over not making it in time for Tim Hortons service hours.
I fucking hate getting up out of bed to go on my daily walk to Tim Hortons to beg food. And I make it in time, plenty of time before they close, yet they're not fucking serving food anymore. Do you understand how fucking frustrating that is? As a depressed person who doesn't want to fucking make food, I had more energy to get up, to go outside, to go for a fucking walk, to get food because I couldn't make any. And then the Tim Hortons that I go to literally is not selling food. You bet I said fuck you to the guy and left. I didn't wait this pandemic and I'm still with phone. And stack him to self what you said to Doug. Everybody. Yeah, basically.
Okay, so this was when a lot of businesses had to cut their operating times to pandemic restrictions, staffing issues, store policies, and, literally common sense stuff. But Marissa acted like the entire Canada was conspiring against her. Like, how dare Tim Hortons not set their schedule around her cravings? She was furious, as if a global health crisis wasn't a good enough reason for her to wait until the next day to get her damn coffee and bagel. Like, how do you think that made you look, Marissa, after cussing out the minimum wage worker? That was ridiculous. She walked away, thinking she did something there. And this is a fully grown woman, mind you, throwing a tantrum because apparently she is depressed, but she has the capacity to drag herself out of bed, put on clothes, and go outside. Then how is it that suddenly, when it comes to making something simple for herself, she's helpless? She wants people to believe that showing up at a restaurant chain is easier than just grabbing a slice of bread and putting it in a toaster. Just like this one Twitter user said, imagine carrying a baby for 9 months, and then it comes out looking like Marissa Matthews. Now, her mom, in an attempt to seem unfazed, responded with, "I was blessed." I mean, what else was she gonna say? Yeah, I regret it. She's got no choice, guys. But to like her daughter, even though Marissa is insufferable, and it gets even funnier because Marissa has this weird obsession with regularly searching her own name on Google and Twitter, checking what people are saying about her. Someone pointed it out, tweeting, "Marissa Matthews is name searching herself again," and right on cue, here comes her mom, answering the person with, of course, to find people for the lawsuit. Before deciding to become a content creator, she should have at least understood that not everyone is going to agree with her or like her because, well, that's just how it works when you put yourself out there. But she had to bring her mum into this to be her damage control unit. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and this one right here is rooted in generational failure. This just goes to show that Marissa's lack of accountability and victim complex began with her mom. This is kind of wild though, because I've never talked about anyone on my channel who has their parent deeply involved in their online drama. And you'd think she'd only go after public posts, but no, she's also got her eyes on the private messages. If people send something directly to her inbox, they're not safe either, because she takes the time to respond to most of them, especially if they mention anything even remotely related to her sexual life. And instead of ignoring it like any sane person would, she'll hit back with way too much unnecessary information, and then proudly post the exchange on her account. Look, while promoting body positivity and self-acceptance, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Advocating the notion that health exists at every size without acknowledging the well-documented risks associated with obesity is perilous. Influencers like Marissa Matthews, who dismiss these dangers, may inadvertently encourage unhealthy lifestyles, leading their audiences to underestimate the serious health implications tied to excessive weight. Tragically, there have been instances where individuals promoting such messages have faced severe health consequences themselves. I've previously explored this topic in depth, highlighting several TikTok influencers who championed this lifestyle but tragically succumbed to weight-related illnesses. If you haven't seen that video yet, it's an eye-opener that underscores the potential dangers of such messages. You can click here or link in the description if you want to check that out and watch and understand the real-life implications of promoting health at any size.